is fine. Let me in.
Wait, Jersey Joe, aren't you going to talk?
Joe, you're wearing the cheetah jersey. Sit down.
Yeah.
Come on, give us a
no,
minute.
because he has to study.
Give us a minute of your time. Welcome back to the WICO Morning Show. Ken Reish and Spring Gonzalez, joined now
Ew.
by what?
It's spring like the season.
Spring like the season, Gonzalez.
Why
And
are you interrupting him? That was a perfect rejoin. He seems like a natural there, but
Like
you
a
got to
natural.
interrupt Spring.
wow.
Wait, what?
That's the first time Mike DeMarge has ever come to my defense, and I would like to say thank you, sir. I would like to
I
say
didn't even
thank
hear
you.
what he said 'cause I walked away.
So I'm going to restart. Welcome back to the WICO Morning Show with Ken Reichman and Spring Gonzalez, joined now by our Monday-Wednesday host, Mr. Joe Archino, as well as the always wonderful Mr. Mike DeMarge. Mike, how you doing?
Good morning. Having a wonderful cup of coffee on my terrace this morning. It's a beautiful morning after a beautiful night at Yankee Stadium. Derek Jeter, one of the most incredible Yankees of all time, will go down in Yankee folklore. And what a way to end it with that game-winning base hit last night. If you were the best writer and director in Hollywood, you couldn't have scripted something like this.
Yeah, after all the criticism that we've, especially on the morning
Wednesday
show,
morning show.
on the Wednesday morning
That
show that
got
we
a
went
little
through, Jeter still is, a classic icon of the game. And
What jerk is criticizing him?
that was myself. And
Well,
to
jerk,
well, and so you're right. The storybook ending that was last night. The greatest writer probably would have ended it with a walk-off home run. But you know what? Nothing was better than watching him round first base and then jump up in the air with that smile.
It's funny, like the only thing that came into my mind after that was just a perfect ending to a perfect career. I mean, that literally
that was
sums up Derek Jeter in one sentence. Whenever you needed that big hit, he always was the one to deliver it, and it's kind of sad to see, but you know what? It went out the way he wanted it to, and you can't write it much better than it happened.
So, Mike, where were you? When did you first know that Derek Jeter was Derek Jeter? When was that first thing?
Boy, I've taught you well. 1995, I remember hearing his name because it had been some time since the Yankees had a true shortstop, really since Bucky Dent. They had Larry Milbourne, Spike Owen, Randy Velarde, Alvaro Espinoza, Roy Smalley. And the Yankees really haven't had a steady shortstop for more than 15 years. And I started hearing the name. This is 95 when the Yankees kind of had turned the corner. They brought in players like Paul O'Neill, David Cohn, Bernie Williams was starting to rise. And I heard about the shortstop. And by then you were kind of pessimistic. If you remember the old Seinfelds, the line, Larry David, you've ruined this great organization. And the Yankees had lost that winning tradition. Even though they brought in big free agents during the 80s, they could never win. They hadn't been in the World Series since 81. So they made the playoffs in 95, lost in 5 games to the Seattle Mariners. Of course, the game-winning hit by Edgar Martinez scored Ken Griffey Jr., which saved baseball in Seattle at the time. And I had heard the name Jeter, and then 96, 95, Showalter got fired after that. They brought in Joe Torre. The headlines were Clueless Joe. So the Yankees, were really, going through a change despite starting to turn the corner in the mid-90s. And they had the shortstop, Derek Jeter, you heard about in the opening game. I'll never forget it against Cleveland in 96. He hits a home run. And I think he was batting 8th or 9th that game. By the time the season ended, or as the season was going along, this kid was starting to get base hits, big base hits. And, of course, in 96, he was batting it kind of like towards the top of the lineup at times. You had Tim Raines, who was a great leadoff hitter there. But, Jeter was moving his way from the bottom of the lineup to the top of the lineup. And, of course, a great home run in 96 against the Orioles, the Jeffrey Mayer home run.
You mean the flyout?
The flyout, which is a home run. Many Mets cannot be reached for comment.
Yeah.
This guy was always...
They're on a golf course for somewhere.
But the amazing thing about Jeter is, who he is. You look at today's players, we see the stuff going, the problems in the NFL. Here's the guy who's, a terrific-looking guy, terrific person, and he's kept himself so clean in New York all these years. And you see it through the fabric of his family, always at the game. He always mentions them. There's always the shots of his father. This is the guy that has kept his personal life out of the spotlight, unlike so many players that has always kept himself clean. And, we talk about in broadcasting the importance of a soundbite. Derek Jeter never gives you anything really to talk about. The only time in my years covering sports that he even said anything was kind of like when Joe Torre was being fired, and he just said, I hope they treat Mr. T with respect. He deserves that respect. That was the most controversial thing I ever heard from Jeter talk. Last night was the first time Jeter ever opened up his book, talked about emotions.
Yeah.
And you got a sense of who he really was because he even admitted it. He hides himself, he hides his emotion, and he always talks about, we got to win the game. And that's all he's really ever talked about his whole life. So last night, as a guy, I didn't grow up watching Derek Jeter. I was in my 20s when he first came up, so my heroes are like Catfish Hunter and Reggie Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have that, that gaga look when I think of Derek Jeter. I just know him as a professional, and I covered him. But I got goosebumps, watching last night and seeing him tear up. We never saw that from Jeter.
No.
It was quite amazing.
That was amazing to see. I mean, just seeing those emotions, which, like you said, you never see that from him. The guy's always so composed. He's always just all business. And to see that, it was nice to see, because for the fans who've been with him for so long, it was an emotional experience. And to see him have that same emotion, I think it was just great.
Yeah, and if you look at him, and you look at his numbers, and he even said it, they're better players with more talent. For example, he only had 100 RBI season. He only hit 20 home runs 3 times, never hit 30 home runs. But no one played harder, and no one was more aware, especially on the field. The 2 big plays he's known for is the flip play in Oakland, which turned the series around, and that dive into the stands against the Red Sox. So, this guy's also known for his defensive plays. That means his head's in the game all the time. No one was more prepared, and no one worked harder than Jeter. Certainly, 50 years from now, you look at the stats. Oh, Garciaparra had better stats. Oh, A-Rod had better stats. Of course, A-Rod linked to steroids, and there are other whispers about other players. This guy was never linked to that stuff.
No.
Right.
So he does the intangible stuff to win, and we are going to miss him severely because of that.
So, Mike, there's been criticism, obviously, this year. The Yankees are going to finish out of the playoffs for one of the only times in the last 100,000 years.
Yeah, they make it 2008. They didn't make it last year and this year, so it's starting to be a trend, actually. So it is concerning.
It's going to be a rough 4 years. It is. You look at this team, and it's a weird mishmash of older talent and then not a lot of good young talent. They don't have good farm system talent right now. It's going to be a rough 3 to 4 years.
So they're going to finish at least 4 games out, and Derek Jeter, who, obviously was not having a career year at the plate, obviously wasn't the player that he's used to being, is going to end up playing in about 145 games. He's going to finish with about a 250 batting average. They're going to finish close enough to the second wild card spot where they, probably could have made a push to make the playoffs had they gotten better production out of the lineup. Now, Mike, do you think that at all that the overindulgence in this Derek Jeter last season maybe prevented them from putting somebody out there who could be productive?
No. What prevented them from making the playoffs was CC Sabathia going down, Michael Pineda going down, and Tanaka going down.
Yeah, you lose 4/5 of your starting rotation. There's
Brian
no way.
McCann batting .233. Mark Teixeira batting .217. Brian Roberts .237.
Right.
And let's go on, and not signing. And I was against it at the time, I'll admit it, giving Robinson Cano that big contract. But you know what? If they would have given Cano the money, they'd probably be in the playoffs. So, there are many other factors why they didn't make the postseason. And look, are there guys with better range than Jeter? Yeah, sure, there are. But what he brings to the clubhouse, what he brings to the team is such leadership, and it's going to be interesting who fills the void. I don't think it's going to be a Mark Teixeira kind of guy.
Oh, no.
Could it be a Brian McCann? Yeah, but he's got to get that average up above 230. He's got to try and get it 270. So I don't know who's going to fill the void here. Is it a Brett Gardner? I don't know the players on this team that's going to fill the void that are true Yankees. You talk about Bernie Williams, Jorge Posada, Derek Jeter, and so on. Andy Pettitte. These guys were true Yankees. That's why when teams build, they got to build a core. 4 or 5 players, and then you bring in the spare parts. And I don't know who that's going to be.
Well, you look across the bridge into Queens, and I think they've got a pretty solid core coming around the corner, don't they?
Well, I've been hearing that for a lot of years about that.
Haven't we all?
About the minor league team in Citi Field. But, no, look, David Wright's a great player, and it'd be nice to see him finally win. Yeah. And, David Wright, another great model of what to be as a professional athlete. But getting back to Jeter and the Yankee Stadium, this guy never said anything, and I thought his post-game press conference was so revealing about him and interesting as, young journalism students as you are. He asked the press, they were asking him these questions. He goes, I'm very emotional, but you guys aren't asking me the right questions. And I'm like screaming at the TV. Ask him what conversation he had with his father this morning.
Right.
What did he do when he woke up this morning? What was he thinking? What was he thinking when he went to sleep? Start getting a little more personal. And I think he would have gushed up yesterday. I really do. this was a shock to see him so emotional. I got to be honest with you. And the Yankees were so bad this year, I didn't watch that much of them because I couldn't take it. And I also didn't want to watch. Let me put it this way. When I got in the industry, I worked at a radio station called WNEW. And they were big bands like Frank Sinatra, Ella Fitzgerald. And I told some of the old-timers around there, they were old-time to me. At the time, I said, hey, I'm going to see Sinatra tonight at Radio City. And they go, oh, I don't want to see him. I said, why? Well, you're a baseball fan. Would you want to see Mickey Mantle in his 60s? And
right.
I never thought of it that way. So now I'm seeing Jeter and, getting older. I don't want to see him that way. But I'm so glad and grateful of what he did last night as a New York baseball fan.
Absolutely. And the thing I keep going back to is what you were talking about his press conference. I mean, the thing he said, saying that nobody ever, I wasn't always the best player, but no one ever played harder than I did. Every game he ever played, he did things the right way. He did everything. He epitomized everything that we want as humans, as athletes, and it's been a great ride, and I'm sad to see it end.
It's the end of an era, guys.
It is.
It most certainly is.
And it might be 10 years. Look, what I had growing up when I was younger than you guys, I had the Yankees of the 70s and stuff like that. And I took it for granted. I thought they were going to win every year. They made it to the World Series in 76, lost to the Reds. Then they won the series against the Dodgers in 77, 78, made it back in 81. And then after that, there was 15 years. You guys who are Yankee fans now, you're talking about you might not see something until you're my age someday again.
It's true. Yeah.
So it's not a given that you get players like Jeter. It's not a given that you get players that are the face of your franchise and hold the standard for others to follow. I look at who's on the Yankee roster. Beltran going to be gone. Suzuki going to be gone. Beltran I don't know if he's going to contribute, but Jacoby Ellsbury, if you don't look at him as a Yankee, maybe Brett Gardner. I just don't see it. I'm looking at two guys, Gardner and McCann as the two guys to kind of hold the torch here. And certainly McCann's an Atlanta Brave, so I don't know where they're going to look to.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely going to be a bit of a change of pace, and it'll be interesting to see where it all goes.
It is. We've got a lot of questions, and as soon as the Derek Jeter thing, that's it.
Now, the next debate is what percentage of people vote for him for the Hall of Fame and who doesn't vote for him for the Hall of Fame.
Oh, yeah, he's a first ballot guy.
No question.
Oh, there's always going to be some jerk writer.
Oh, yeah. What's his name? The Dan Lee Batard would probably be the guy.
Well, yeah, exactly. So, but, and also he's the last Yankee single-digit uniform that's going to be retired.
Yeah,
so,
from now
no
on.
more singles.
Doubles.
That's it.
All right, Mike.
Thank you so much,
It's a
Kenny.
pleasure
That was
having
great
you on.
stuff, yeah.
Thank you, Joe.
You're welcome. That was really good stuff.
So
Bye, Demergis.
Oh, there she is.
Bye, Spring.
Tori, Spring knows you were here. Don't worry.
Yeah, exactly. That's
I
what
was here in
matters.
spirit.
Nice bun today.
Oh.
Thank you. He
All
loves
right,
the
thanks,
bun.
Mike.
Bye.
Bye.
So, WICO Morning Show, Mike DeMurgis calling in about Derek Jeter, El Capitone, and number 2 in your program, number 1 in your hearts, Derek Jeter.
Oh, my God.
And that is pretty much that. Joe, thanks for coming on
You're
with
welcome.
us.
I'm going to run take my Italian quiz. Hopefully
Good
that
luck.
goes
We'll
Spring,
see.
good luck on your
Spring, what are
Thank
you
you.
taking? What
I'm
are you
taking
doing?
a test on the American Republic.
That sounds wonderful. Now, listen, it's Friday. Friday.
Oh, my God, Kenny.
Get down on Friday. Right?
Yes, Kenny.
Everybody's looking forward to the weekend.
All right, Kenny, if this is the way you wrap up, that's really
All right, so
horrible.
we are... Oh, what?
Why
Spring,
are you talking so loud?
Put me
My
back.
God.
You need to be more energetic. You need to turn
Spring
your
needs to
thing
be
down.
more energetic. All right, with that being said,
Anyway,
I have a test to do, so
we will
I just
see
want to
you
bid you
on
all adieu,
Monday.
and I hope that I get a good grade on my test.
The Morning Show, Ken Reichman, Joe Archino, and Ian Sachs, the Sack Daddy, will be back on Monday morning.
And
9
Kenny
a.m.
and I will be
sharp.
back on Tuesday
And
with
then me
Brian.
and Spring and Brian on Tuesday.
Yay.
Or
So
as some say...
Oh, my Lord, Kenny. You
Wait,
guys
what's
all
Tuesday?
have a lovely
What's
day
Tuesday
because
in
Kenny
Spanish?
will keep
What's
going
Tuesday
on.
in Spanish? I know miércoles is Wednesday.
Martes.
Martes.
Martes. There you go.
So we'll see you on Martes. Tuesday. See you then.
Bye.
Bye-bye.